Okay guys, this week we are going to learn about flowers. So for an overview of flowers, flowering plants are called angiosperms. So non-flowering are called gymnosperms, but we aren't focusing on those because we're focusing on flowers and fruit. So flowering plants are called angiosperms. The main purpose of a flower is going to be sexual reproduction because their sex organs are in the flower. The color and fragrance of a flower is the result of natural selection. So those are there because they attract pollinators, so birds and insects, and the ones that attracted the most pollinators had the most fertilized seeds, which then passed that trait on, right? Natural selection. Flowers can be used for classification, just like we used the leaves earlier. Flowers are the least affected by the environment, whereas other things like roots and stuff like that and leaves can be affected by the environment. Flowers are pretty much always the same, regardless of the environment. If a plant flowers, its flower is going to have the same structures that we use. So knowing the parts of a flower is going to be important if you want to identify plants. So on this slide, we're actually looking at the flower structure and the fact that flowers have both male and female organs. So most flowers do. So this one here on this side, I have like the eraser up. So give me a second. This is going to have the male organs. That's the stamen. Okay. And the stamen, I want you to look at the word men and remember that that one's male. Okay. And then the pistil on this side, right? The pistil is going to be the female organs, right? Because it has an ovary down here, right? That's the ovary. That's where the seeds are, right? Which are eggs, okay? So pistil is this, right? And then the stamen are these little guys that are on the outside, all right? So more specifically about the stamen is the male reproductive organ, like we just said. So the stamen actually has two different parts of it. We have the anther, which is this right there, right? That's the pollen part right on the top. And then you have the filament, which is that like stalk or that stand that the anther sits on. Okay, and the point of it is that it makes it so that the birds can carry the birds or bugs or stuff like that can get pollen easier. So the filament holds the stamen or holds the anther right in the right spot, and together they're called the stamen. The pistil is the female part. So if we look at this picture, this plant has both because here, right here, right, there's my stamen, right, with the anther up top, this, and then the filament right there, right? So this is the pistil though in this picture, right? This plant just happened to have both. The pistil is this center part right here. This is a pistil, right? It's the female reproductive organ. It's usually in the center of a flower. Think of a lily. Those are the easiest ones to recognize. It has three main parts. So it has the stigma, which is the top part, and it's sticky because the pollen attaches to it. It has the style, which is kind of this part that goes up and down. And then in the bottom, it's going to have the ovary. We can see it in the other picture because the ovary is going to be what contains the eggs and where the pollen goes to fertilize them. So on this picture, I wanted you to label the parts. If we were in class, you would label the parts. But we have right there, stamen. We have this is going to be pistil, right? We have anther and filament, right? Stigma, style, and this right here is your ovary. Does that make sense? Make sure you have a picture drawn that has this labeled in your notes. The next part of a flower would be the petals. All right, this is the colorful portion of the flower. Underneath the petals, you have the sepals. That's these guys right here. The sepals are the protective structure when the flower is closed. Think of a tulip, right? And before it opens, it's all shut like this around it, right? Those shut part, like the bud, the part that's shut over the bud is the sepals. And then the pedicle is going to be this area right here below where the flower actually just attaches. Types of flowers. So flowers can be categorized by two specific, actually four, but two specific types. They're going to be either complete or incomplete. All right. And like the wording, a complete flower is going to have everything that it needs. So it's going to have a stamen. So the male parts, it's going to have a pistil. The female parts, it's going to have petals and sepals. Okay, so petals for the color, the sepals that protect it. An incomplete flower is going to be missing some of those parts, and it varies for each flower what it's missing. So like down here, here's the stamen. This flower is missing the stamen. See it? And the next classification type is going to be perfect or imperfect. Okay, so if a flower has both stamen and pistils, this guy right here, it would be perfect. All right, if it's lacking either one, it would be imperfect. This one and this one are imperfect. So all complete flowers are also perfect, but not all perfect flowers are complete. Think of that, it's like a riddle, and in your notes tell me, what would a perfect flower, or what could a perfect flower be missing, and that's why it's not complete. Okay, I think this is it, and make sure you got your notes down, make sure you have all the words, every other page, and ask questions when we get back to class. Bye guys.